What's up? Oh man, the reason why people want to hear this is because I see the internet. I see people talking about it all over the place, man. I mean, it's everywhere. Every time I turn my head, somebody want to know. They just prisoners of the moment. Somebody was talking about Chris Rock extended version on Netflix where they were talking about Richard Pryor and Eddie and Arsenio was talking about how they met for the first time and everything. Uh, Here's the thing. Eddie was this rising star, and Eddie would always tell anybody who would listen how much he loves Richard Pryor. Like Richard Pryor was his guy from the concerts to this nigga's crazy album. I mean, Richard Pryor is the guy. Period. And Richard was a lot of comedians like he was transcendent because of how risky he was and with his comedy, like he was just out there, and people saw Richard as their muse. It's just like he inspired a lot of Eddie Murphy type characters to come out. Red Fox, so a lot of people that's like Red, like Eddie Griffin is more like Red to me than a lot of these other comedians. His style is more like Red Fox. But everybody got their own their signature, their own stamp. And that's what comedy is. It's like Richard didn't have to tell a joke to be funny. And that's what was so incredible about it. Richard can walk out and grab the microphone and just be like, "Dang, who they think I am? Look at this damn microphone. Look at this. The thing don't even raise up. People be dying laughing because they just know it's the way Richard say things. It was his delivery. It was everything. Like he lived, breathed comedy. Like it was his escape with most comedians. Now, when they tell these stories, like I remember one of the partners or whatever on Comedy Hyper or something that was Richard's assistant, and he was talking about how Eddie disrespected Richard. I think I saw that about a year ago. He was mentioning the fact, oh, Richard was Richard was meeting Eddie at his house, and he made Richard wait 2 hours before he came down the stairs. And he knew what time Richard was coming over, and he waited 2 hours. And Richard's like, the only reason I'm sitting here because I want you to know, told you he don't like me, and this is why. I want you to see it. So I've heard all the stories. I've heard it all, people. Now you ready to hear the truth, right? You need to hear the truth. 'Cause everybody's like, what's true? What's not true? These people really knew these people. See, no, they were right there. How could you dispute anything they say? You weren't there, Cino. I didn't have to be. I knew people that were. Oh yeah. Here we go. This is the truth behind the Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor beef, right? So hit the like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to this page if you're new here. Hopefully you got a notification by now. If not, I'm totally sorry they didn't give you one, because this is the one you're going to want the notification for. Now, going into this is going to be crazy. Because when it started out, Richard Pryor was recovering. Richard Pryor had just, recovered from being burnt up. And he did a comedy special. Him and Paul Mooney did Live on Sunset Strip, where Richard Pryor basically submitted that he was one of the best comedians to ever do it. And that was him after recovering from being burnt. First time he was really out and on stage and doing something after the fire. Now, the toy, with Richard Pryor playing this role where he's with Jackie Gleason and everything else, people were shocked to see him do this type of movie where he was playing, a docile guy. But at this point, they were offering Richard money to take these soft roles. Richard wasn't doing drugs anymore. He was sober. And he just was doing these roles that made him look docile, look more like safe. Superman 3, Here and Now, stuff like Brewster's Millions. These roles were something that Bill Cosby would have done these. It's like Richard was taking the safe route to get money because he needed money at the time. He was clean, he was sober, but the vices was catching him. Now, Eddie Murphy started to blow up around 82 when he dropped 48 Hours. That come out, he had been doing Saturday Night Live, but when 48 Hours hit and Trading Places, you got a lot of different opinions starting to come out that Eddie Murphy is the new Richard Pryor. Media would write this in the comedy section and where they review comedy and saying, Richard Pryor, the new Richard Pryor, this Eddie Murphy kid, he's like a young version of Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was this. So, and then he always talks about Richard Pryor. Oh, Rich is my idol, and this and that. So people would think that him and Richard would know each other, and Richard was mentoring him. Richard Pryor had never met him. So Richard was doing his show because he's getting ready to do Here and Now, this comedy special. So he's going around doing his show, and Eddie shows up to one of the, because he's testing out material. And this is the one not Arnold, but Arsenio Hall tells you about. When the note gets up to Richard and Richard finds out Eddie's there, and he says, there's a kid out there that everybody says is the new Richard Pryor, but I think I'm not through being me just yet for there to make a new one. So, and his name is Eddie Murphy, and he's here today. And I've never heard this guy. I've never seen him perform. I've heard everybody tell me about him. But if he's here, come on up here. Eddie Murphy. So Eddie come up there. Eddie give him a hug and everything, and Richard steps off, sits on the step, and let Eddie work on the mic. He wanted to see what Eddie could do right there on the spot. Now, if Eddie didn't go up there and say anything and do something, it would have looked bad. And they was like, oh man, Richard set Eddie up so that Eddie could bomb in front of everybody. And that wasn't true. That wasn't what Richard was thinking. Eddie's people, family members and hanger-ons, was thinking Richard just tried to embarrass you, in front of the crowd by putting you on stage like that, just pull you up and you there to watch him. Next thing you know, he pull you on stage and be like, I'm gonna sit here and watch you. Richard was being genuine because Richard don't want to pass over some kid who might be using his name for fame. So when he meets Eddie, he wants to know, are you really a comedian? I gotta know. For me, I gotta know. That's what that whole thing was about. It wasn't so that Eddie can bomb. He wanted to see how Eddie handled that pressure. Working the room, being pulled up at a given notice and gotta deliver. He wants to know if you're funny. Richard just wanted to know. It's his first time seeing Eddie Murphy. Let me see what the talk is about. So Eddie got up there, did a couple of bits, then turned it over to Richard. And Richard saw something in Eddie right then and there that Eddie was able to control the crowd. Because here his celebrity, his stardom wasn't going to really matter here. His newfound fame, all that stuff. Yeah, they happy to be there, but you got to be funny. And Richard liked the way he took the Rams and went at them aggressively with jokes. And he got to see Eddie work. So they began to do a promo piece for Here and Now with Richard Pryor and all these different things. So the photo shoot Eddie came and took together, as Richard was basically, talking to him, and this guy was willing to listen to Richard, and this guy, he's acquired a lot more than Richard has in less films, as far as notoriety and things of that nature. He's on the big main circuit. So when this is going on, Richard is giving them advice. They leave, and Eddie at this time is going through a partnership with his new company, where he will be a writer, director, and producer on projects. So he wanted to get with some of these guys who had some experience and have been doing this for a long period of time. So all the comedians would get together, and tell jokes and sharpen each other's skills, and then you got the unsigned comedians coming in trying to do what they do to be seen. And this would consistently go over through the years. And one day Eddie calls Richard and tell him that he had a project for him. Hey Rich, it's Ed. Yeah. Looky here. I got a project, man, and I'm telling you, it's bad. It's bad. It's really bad. And I couldn't think of no one else to play it but you. I mean, come on, Rich. Rich. It's called The Golden Child. You're gonna love it. It's gonna break all box office records. So Richard Pryor said, no, thank you. Because The Golden Child didn't perform well. As much as, black kids love this movie, the rest of the world didn't. So after that, Eddie Murphy decided he was going to be writing, directing, and acting in a lot of his films. So after that, he started writing Beverly Hills Cop 2. So while he was penning the Beverly Hills Cop 2, he wanted Richard Pryor to be in this role and be in this movie. So when Beverly Hills Cop 2 is getting ready to come out, Richard Pryor was supposed to be the detective that was working at the station with Eddie Murphy. So he was like, I wrote a part for you. You're gonna be in the movie." So again, Richard didn't want to do it. And just like a bunch of gossip hands, the media was starting to spread the rumors that Richard don't like Eddie and Eddie was better than him, and who was better, Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. And they used to say, who's better, Bill Cosby or Richard Pryor? Bill Cosby was like considered the king of comedy at that time because he was wholesome. And Richard Pryor was like late night in the alley type of comedy. But Bill started off the same way as Richard. When they first came into the comedy game. Now, as Eddie grew, Eddie wanted to work more and more with Richard. It was becoming an obsession for him to want to work with Richard. Because he knew he just had to have the right thing. And that's what Richard told him. Like, man, no, I don't want to do this. Beverly Hills Cop 2, he thought he had a nice part in there for Richard. And Richard would be in the movie and Beverly Hills Cop 2. And when he turned it down, they did rewrites. Now, the thing about Richard is at this point, he don't want to do anything violent. And the stuff that he was sending him were, he didn't look at them as good projects. So when Coming to America was coming around with Arsenio and everything else, he sent that to Richard. He thought Richard would jump at the idea. Richard turned it down. He had another 48 hours that he was working on. They had just did Coming to America, and he thought, okay, Rich, you could be my father in the movie. Before they had James Earl Jones, Richard Pryor was going to be his father. He thought Richard would jump at the idea of playing his father. And Richard was like, I don't know. Like, this seems too silly. Like, it seemed ridiculous. He didn't want to be in it. Now, what people don't realize is that Richard and Eddie, those guys, like Richard, Eddie would talk to Richard every time he could. And Richard Pryor would always be there for Eddie to talk to him. You know, because the situation was Richard was in a different situation at this time. Like, he wasn't the big money draw anymore, but he's still doing his thing. He's still doing comedy. He's still doing his shows. But he don't want people to like bury him while he's still working. You know, and that's what the media was doing. And they was trying to turn him against each other. And because Richard used to do drugs, the paranoia of Richard Pryor was showing up. He don't know why Eddie wants to work with him so bad. You know, like, why does he want to work with me so bad? So Richard was turning down stuff just to be turning it down. But when Harlem Nights came around and he realized, Eddie was like, oh, all the old comedians in there. It's in the 1920s and 1930s. So it sounded, when he heard Red Fox and everybody was gonna be in this film, like you got Red and everyone else to be in this movie. This sounds pretty good. It was too good. He finally had a script that Richard liked. Richard's like, I like this. So they had it that Eddie was his adopted son. Like, he decided to adopt Eddie in the movie and be his son. And that's how it really was in real life. And Eddie was directing the movie. So the only thing about it is Eddie was in it for a little bit and then he was out of it because he ended up directing. That's why they had the script where he goes into hiding. So, like, it would, the audience wouldn't be like, "Where's Eddie?" But Eddie's directing it, so he needs to be behind the camera. So this was his baby, you know. And now the movie stands the test of time because, like, almost everybody in that movie is gone, you know. So it's like one of those movies that's just golden. And it's just unique and it's funny. It's completely and utterly funny. So after Harlem Nights, Eddie had more movies. He was like, "Oh, we're gonna do more movies down the road." And Richard's like, "Yeah, that's nice. That's nice." So Richard went back to working with Gene Wilder, and he had a bit part for him in the movie Boomerang. Eddie turned it down, and he was like, "Richard, you gonna like this? This is all black people doing business, man." And Richard told him, "Man, this is a good thing, man, what you're doing right here with Boomerang." But Richard didn't want no parts of Boomerang because he was already contracted to do, he was doing like two movies back to back. And when they was filming Harlem Nights, Richard didn't tell Eddie that he was sick. You know, he was having his shakes then, you know, but he'll put his hand in his pocket and be like in directing Richard, you know, with like Rich, you know, you can't, in this scene, you can't just put your hand in your pocket. You know, you gotta have your hand out. And he was trying to hide that from Eddie. He didn't want Eddie to see him as a flaw, you know. And let's go back to that 2 hours that they saying he made Richard Pryor wait. when he came to Eddie's house, Eddie was talking with John Landis. Now they going to Eddie's house to meet. The reason why it took 2 hours is because John Landis and Eddie, both of those guys had a problem. And they had just patched things up. And they were in a discussion about another movie that was coming up about making another Beverly Hills Cop. And they were going to get John Landis to try to do it. Because whenever they worked together, it was gold. But they fell out, while they was directing Coming to America. When he first started, that was like Eddie's first movie, like Trading Places, and with Dan Aykroyd. He was directing him then. Eddie was the young, not a superstar. Now Ed is a superstar and Coming to America, and you're trying to treat Eddie like he's not Eddie Murphy. Now we're gonna do on the Patreon. We're gonna do a behind the scenes on this because there's a lot of stuff that I cut out for a good reason, and you're gonna love that on the Patreon because we can go there. We can actually go there. Now, listen, Richard and Eddie, the picture you see when they're outside Eddie's house, Richard's looking like, damn, man, you don't know how to put on a belt? you know the belt was designed to hold your pants up. Look at you, you look confused. And that's how Richard is. You see how Richard is? That's Richard Pryor. And he kept badgering Richard to battle Eddie Murphy. Like, that would be a good battle. Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy. Like, man, who the best? And the problem was Richard was sick. And he was getting older and he couldn't perform the way he used to. And he was starting to use a cane a little bit more because he didn't want to fall. Wanted to keep his balance. And Rodney Dangerfield produced Richard Pryor's film, Moving. And when Moving came out, it was a comedy that he liked. He was a black man, an architect, and this is what Richard wanted to do. He wanted to make that movie. And he was performing at Rodney Dangerfield had a comedy club called Dangerfields. And like they always talk about Eddie Murphy and they're like, Eddie Murphy! And then they would throw that up there. And they would just yell out things in front of the crowd. So Richard Pryor goes up there and does a couple of minutes. Just on a whim. Because Richard was there watching the other comedians. And Richard just go up there when they were trying to talk about like who's the best. And he just spoke to him. And I hope somebody has this tape because I think they tape every Dangerfields because that's how I heard it. It's a tape where Richard Pryor was on the stage, or it's an audio, it's somewhere. And Richard Pryor said, everybody want me to go up against Eddie Murphy. And I want to talk about that. Why should it's like every time I read the press, they say Richard Pryor versus Eddie Murphy. And that insults me. That hurts me. Because another artist should never, ever, ever go up against somebody else when you black. I'm never against another black man. I'm never in a competition with another black man. He's like, the only way that'll happen if I hear anybody say Rodney Dangerfield versus Jackie. There's a comedian named he did Caddyshack Part 2. And everybody thought of him as the bootleg Rodney Dangerfield. And he actually played like the same role when they did Caddyshack Part 2. And I want to say his name was Jackie Lemon. But he was saying no one would ask or put Rodney Dangerfield versus Jackie Lemon. When y'all do that, then you could say Richard Pryor versus Eddie Murphy. He would never hate on another black man or never be at war with another black man. That wasn't going to happen. I mean, you got to realize something. Richard was getting old and was not well. And as he started to decline in health, you know, he just wanted to let people know my body is failing, but my mind is still sharp. He was still helping comedians. Richard Pryor never hated Eddie Murphy. And the thing when Eddie said on the show that Richard would Richard would see me and it would just throw his whole show off, and everybody tell him Eddie's there. It would just throw his act off. No, like he was afraid. Let me clarify what Eddie mean. Eddie mean that time when he came there and he just pulled Eddie on stage. You know, somebody would say Eddie was there before and it wouldn't just throw him off. It would just, he would wonder why Eddie is here, or is Eddie here studying me so he could do me. So the younger people, like anybody who was older at that time, who grew up on Richard, they looked at Eddie and be like, that ain't Richard Pryor. You know, like, but when he first started, he was more like Richard Pryor. But he grew out of it because he started having experiences of his own. See, when you're young, like Richard was, I mean, like Eddie was, like he said, I didn't do it. All I knew was Richard Pryor. You know, that was really it. So his skits sounded like Richard. And Richard was very good at talking about life. That's what he was good at. Told you, Richard could just, and that's what a comedian is not just somebody who writes a joke, do a setup, the punchline, deliver it. And I mean, that's a part of it, but a comedian is someone who could just, they are a master of their craft. They can make you laugh just in regular conversation. As Richard will sit there and say, you know, they say life is one big joke. No, it ain't. Life is a whole series of little bitty jokes, all lined up in a row, just coming to knock you down. It is funny. The way he delivers it is funny. Physical comedy. He was great at physical comedy. Yeah. I'm taking up a lot of your time. I didn't mean to do that. But yeah, there's some key pieces that was left out that was very vital. And we'll put that on the Patreon. And you'll know why it was kept out. You'll know why it was kept out. Because you don't know about the Wayans brothers and how they play into this. Arsenio Hall and how he plays into this. Oh yeah, that's on the Patreon. So definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the page, Carcino for Life, on the Patreon. And definitely, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that notification bell once you subscribe. If you want to support the page, Carcino is the name on the Cash App. God bless you. We out.